What up, y'all? Cherries and Bunions back in the building. And I'm doing this tutorial right here of the hammer blasting or the firearm going off, however you want to say that, but that's what this tutorial is about. Um as you can see, while I'm drawing the firearm, I'm doing it in multiple layers because when you animate in the firearm, it's a lot of moving pieces. So all the pieces I'm doing on different layers, from like the slide to where the ammo get ejected from, the trigger, the barrel, all that's gonna be on different layers. So when you moving things around within time, you can animate each piece separately to make it easier on yourself. And you just animate things one by one. So right now it's looking real simple right now, and then you see I'm using um Moho Pro. And when you doing, well, when I'm doing animation, I'm not doing the most intricate realistic art, but the art that I do is tailor made for the animation process. I'm doing vector art, and you see all these points I'm moving around. You could move those points around within time, and that's how you animate within this program. So it makes it easier for you where you don't have to interpolate frame by frame. But another topic I'm gonna talk about today is one of the best ways to learn animation, and that's by um, watching animation. There's a lot of different styles to 2D animation, so you don't have to um what should I say? You don't have to handcuff your mental and your thought to say that you got to do it this way or that way. Because they got complicated forms of animation, and I'm just speaking on 2D animation. 3D animation is a whole different subject. So we don't really talk about too much 3D on this channel. Everything is 2D. But like in 3D animation, I mean actually in 2D animation, there's a lot of different styles. And you don't have to get caught up in that you got to do the most intricate style like a Disney style or a Marvel style to be successful, cuz they got other styles that you could be successful, especially as a solo animator. You don't have to do all that crazy stuff. You could look at cartoons like Dr. Katz or South Park, or when Archer first came out, or the Legends of Chamberlain Place. To me, in my opinion, those were some great animations, but they were more simplified with less frames, cause the writing carried those series to success. To go to show you that writing has a lot to do with your success. And as a solo animator, it wouldn't hurt to, like, you know, use a lot of shortcuts when it comes to your animation. So um the like I said, one of the best ways to learn animation is to watch animation, and look at certain things like when they make their cuts, like how long and what each shot details, because sometimes you look at animation and you like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on right here, but when you really look closer, it's a bunch of shots strung together to make it look complicated. But when you look at each shot, you realize it's more simpler than you think. And then when you when you look at each shot, you just see what it take to make that shot. Maybe the guy just, said some dialogue, scratched his head. They added some sound to it. Sound could carry a shot or a scene. You know what I'm saying? Where you don't have to animate anything. You just depending on the sound. Like, you might hear a sound in the background, and in your mind, in the spectator's mind, they automatically assume what's actually happening when it's not, you didn't even draw or animate that. Like, so you might hear a door open and close in the background, but you didn't see the door open and close, but in your mind, as a spectator, the door opened and closed. So, watch every scene and look at every shot and just see what that entails. And that's one of the best teachers of animation, is actually watching animation. And obviously look at my tutorials. As you see right here, I'm drawing this firearm and this guy's hand. And as you can see on the right side of the panel, you see a bunch of different layers. I'm already up to like 8 layers already to do this firearm, because so many things is like on different layers. And the thing about layers, you could reorder the hierarchy of the layer from top to bottom. So you could you see like that fingertip is over the trigger, where the back of the finger is under the trigger. You see what I'm saying? So that's 3 different layers: the trigger, the tip of the finger, and the back of the finger. And the tip of the finger is on top of the trigger, and the back of the finger is in the back of the trigger. And create the illusion that that finger is just one drawing, but all that is 3 different layers. And that's how you simplify your art, is by using a bunch of different layers. So you don't have to if anything you see that you want to draw feels a little too overwhelming, just break that drawing down into layers and just draw one thing at a time. The layer could be one line, and you just add all those layers together and you make a whole complicated drawing. But yeah, so basically I'm just drawing the hand that's gripping the firearm. And in this tutorial, it's gonna be a little detailed, but it's like breaking the monotony of the previous tutorials of that living room set with the 2 characters. And I'm gonna get back to that because I got a few things to show y'all within that. But with this tutorial, I'm just breaking the monotony. But one thing about it, animation, not only animation, but a lot of things you do, a lot of things you do in life, it's a lot of repetition. So you see what I'm doing, a lot of copying and pasting with the fingernails, and I'm using the drawing tools on the left side of the screen, and I'm using the add points tool and the manipulate points tool, the curvature tool. I'm copying and pasting, and then there's a lot of shortcuts. When you hover over the tool, it tells you the name of the tool and what shortcut is used for to that tool to speed up your work process, your workflow. And also, I'm gonna break down a tool that wasn't in the original versions of this program, but came in maybe a version or two ago. Is the select layer tool. And that tool right there, that was one of the best add-ons in my opinion to this program, the select layer tool. Because when you're working on a project, especially if you're working by yourself, you're going to have a lot of layers within layers within layers, because you're going to have groups and layers and switch layers, and you're going to have 20, 30, 50 layers in one project, one file, one Moho Pro file. You're going to have 50 layers. And you moving so fast, you don't got time to be naming all your layers. And when you want to get to a layer, you don't want to be looking for it in that layer list. But that select layer tool, all you got to do is use that tool and click on the screen or any layer you any layer you want to work with. All you got to do is click on that, use that tool and click on that layer on the screen, and it automatically selects that layer. So that layer right, select layer tool is very helpful with your workflow. Because when you're working by yourself, like I said, you're not going to be, you might get a little lazy and not want to name all your layers every time you create a layer. You just want to, you just want to draw. You don't want to be sitting down typing the name of every layer. And sometimes you might do it, but sometimes you don't. And even if you do name all the layers, you still got to go up and down the list to find that layer. But with the select layer tool, you don't even have to do that. You could just you could just click on the layer that you want to work on, and it automatically selects it. So that's a great tool right there. As you can see, I got my guy's hand with the firearm, and then it got the arm. But what I'm gonna do is put the hand and the firearm all within a group. Outside without the arm, just the hand and the firearm. I'm gonna put all that in a group. But right now what I'm doing is drawing the fire that comes out the not comes out the barrel when when you shoot the firearm. And I'm gonna put I'm gonna put the fire and switch layers. I'm gonna just do a bunch of different fire shapes and put it in the switch layer. Cause the fire is one thing that's gonna be animated. When you see the it's a few things that's gonna be animated at the end of this project right here, at the end of this tutorial. And one of the things is the fire coming out the barrel, and then the finger and the trigger is gonna be animated. The slide is gonna be animated, and the shell casings that's coming out that's gonna come out of that part right there is gonna be animated. And the hand jerking back from the recoil is going to be animated. So right now I'm drawing the shells, and I'm just putting them right there, and I'm gonna put the shell in a switch layer with a live shell and a shell that's not shown. So when the firearm goes off, I could make the shell visible and then have it fly off of the screen. And you see right there, I put that in a switch layer, and then I duplicated it, and I made like about 5 shells. I duplicated like 5 shells. Put those all in a group just to organize. And a lot of things in these tutorials, I take the extra steps so y'all can see what I'm actually doing. But when I'm working on my own projects, I cut off a lot of these steps, like as far as like naming the layers, and you see I got all that in the group. And then I'm gonna tell you another tool that's useful is the origin point tool. Cause you see like how I had the hand and the firearm going up and down. You could put that origin point tool at any part of the screen, and that's where the that layer is gonna pivot from. So if you put the origin point, if you take everything, the hand and the firearm, you take all those layers and put it in a group, which that group becomes one layer. Then you take the origin point tool and put it at the bottom of the palm. Then that bottom of the palm would be the origin of that group layer, and then you could pivot and rotate the whole layer from that point. And then you could move that pivot point around if you want to pivot from another position. But right now I'm just drawing a little background, because if you got a guy that's gonna be blasting the firearm outside, he gotta be, you don't do that in any area. So he's gonna be doing that in an urban type rundown area where you see a couple of bandos. And I'm gonna just draw like a few bandos here. And this is just a real quick, cause it's for the tutorial. But you see my artwork, it's not too much different. I don't be I could sit down and get real fancy with my art. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but this animation, it's all about motion really, that's what and it's all about also telling a story too. A lot of things carry your animation, you don't gotta be drawing your stuff like Picasso or having your stuff. I mean, you could if that's your style, if you got that type of talent. You can make your art real detailed and stuff. But this is like my style, and I could get intricate and real stylistic with my art, but that's real time consuming. So I just keep it at the level where it's at to tell the story that I'm trying to tell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but the art and the animation, that's an escape. It's better than doing drugs or getting drunk, you know? Something to do. Because you know what they say, idle hands is the devil playground, you know what I'm saying? So you stay busy and stay occupied. Even though animation and art is a time consuming thing, you got to do something with your time, you know? So it's not a bad thing. You know, maybe your thing is not this. Maybe you want to cook or work on cars or play basketball or baseball or something. But this is just another pastime that could blow up and maybe become something bigger. You know what I'm saying? But if you're watching this tutorial, obviously this could be your niche right here. So I hope that I'm showing y'all something that could be useful and take you to the next level of existence that you want to be at. You know what I'm saying? I'm just drawing like you see when you got the bandos, you got the boards over the windows. So those are like the boards over the windows that I'm drawing for the bandos. Cause I could have just did the hand and the firearm and just animated it. But one thing about when you do an animation and art, you gotta the background is important. The background tells a story, you know what I'm saying? Like I could have been if I could have had the guy busting the firearm and in a sunny area with white picket fences and nice houses and stuff like that, and it just wouldn't convey. It would be like unrealistic, you know. But as you can see, this guy's in the hood, and he's blasting the steel in the hood to and you see just a couple of bandos. And right now I'm gonna animate the firearm. But right now I'm gonna import some sound, cause you know those things are noisy, so I'm gonna just import some sound. When you working with sounds and Moho Pro, you gotta step from the channel tab of the timeline and go to the sequencer, so you can move the sounds around. So if you're dealing with like vocals or sound effects with the Moho Pro, you can you move them around on the in the sequencer tab. And as you can see at the beginning of every sound effect, um animating the fire coming out the barrel, and you can see the finger and the trigger moving back and forth. I'm gonna animate that, and you can see I'm doing all that within the timeline, and then you can copy and paste your actions. You see, for the beginning, every time I move, you add a keyframe. Look at that. And you see, when I slide everything back, I'm gonna slide everything except for the tip of the barrel to give it that effect that the slide is sliding on the barrel. So when you select all those points to deselect the points, you gotta press Control Alt. And to select more points, you do Control Shift. So when I selected all those points, I wanted to get rid of. See, look at that. That's beautiful. I wanted to deselect the tip of the barrel, so I use Control Alt. And when you select the tool, it shows you the things the tools could do at the top of the screen. So you see, every time you select a different tool, different information and different parameters show that's correlate to that specific tool at the top of the top of the program. And that's where you learn about Control Shift and Control Alt. So every time you select a tool, it's good to read the top part of the screen, so you get more information about that tool. And as you can see, I got the shell casings flying out the firearm every time the slide goes back. Boom. And then I'm gonna pivot the hand every time I go. Boom. But I want to keep everything within the camera view. You see that light blue square is the camera view. So I redid it so when the recoil goes up, I keep it inside the camera view. And I copy and paste that action 5 times because there's 5 shots going off. You see, I play it, boom, 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 boom. Alright, y'all, peace. That's the end of this tutorial. Y'all be safe, yo.